The Straw Man and the Steel Man. Hello everyone, my name is Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church. That's my email address, or in the comments below. As I've stated below on previous videos on this playlist, you'll notice the blue background, the red letters, where we talk about logical fallacies or discussions from rhetoric and so on. This is not an area of my formal training. It is an area of interest, and certainly when you do theology and so on, you get involved in some of these discussions. I really study these things mostly to be sure that I am sane, that I'm not contradicting myself in my arguments. Nevertheless, once in a while, you learn something that's very useful in a discussion or a debate or in the seeking of truth. And again, the purpose of debate is never to prove that you are right. It is to seek truth. It's probably the way we should look at online conversations as well. I'm not here to say that I'm right because I could be wrong. It's really a way we're really engaging with the opposite party to seek truth. Well, what is the straw man and what is the steel man? I think the best way to do this is for me just to show you a screen capture of a mighty Google definition of straw man to begin with here. So I'll pop that up on the screen. A straw man is an intentionally misrepresented proposition that is set up because it is easier to defeat than the opponent's real argument. So that's probably the definition that we're going to go with today. So examples might be, now we're going to spend more time on steel manning, by the way, than the straw man today. The straw man, they're related, and we'll go back to the straw man argument later on. But some examples, the wife says, I would rather have a dog than a cat. And the husband says, why do you hate cats? Can you see the straw man? I'm setting up a straw man. I can shoot at the straw man there. Person A says the children's winter concert at the school should include non-Christmas songs too. And person B says you won't be happy until Christmas songs are banned from being played on the radio. Well, what are you really talking about? How far do you want to push that? And one more. These are definitions you can find on the net. There's no problem here doing that. Politician 1 says providing Medicare for all citizens would be costly and a danger to the free market. The second politician says you don't care if people die from not having health care. So that third one is probably a pretty good kind of example. You want to oppose the first position, but you just take it to its extremes. A little bit related to bulverism, but not really. It's really more of a standalone approach. So really someone using a straw man would take their opposing party's position to the extreme and lay it out for examination or for mockery or derision or whatever. Now, this, of course, has the best effect when you have an audience. Two people are debating and there's an audience. And remember, online discussions frequently have audiences. So be very careful. People are watching what you say and how you say it. Well, that's the straw man. And so the straw man takes a weak position, a ridiculous position. What does my definition say? An intentionally misrepresented proposition of the opposite party's view or position. The steel man or steel manning is the opposite of a straw man argument. The idea is to help one's opponent to construct the strongest form of their argument. Now that's a lot different. To steel man something, and we're hearing this now a lot more than we used to. It almost never used to hear the phrase steel manning, but now we're hearing it in discussion constantly. And so in the steel manning discussion, you basically take your opponent's position and you repurpose or you reuse or you restate your opponent's position and make it stronger than even theirs so that they come and say, well, that's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better myself. All the time knowing that you're challenging your opponent's position. You don't agree with that position. So you might have one person saying that gray cars are better than blue cars. You got to use stupid examples before anybody starts throwing rocks at you. And so the person defending the gray car position says to the blue car position guy or chick or whatever, the reason that you like blue cars is, or you think the blue car is better because, and you state it in a much more robust and full way than maybe even that person could state it. And you almost bring yourself on side with that one. you're showing that person, that opposite party, that you understand their position. You're also perhaps humbling them a little bit, and it will change the tenor of the discussion. Now, there's good advice here, ladies and gentlemen, in my comments. The good advice is learn what the person who disagrees with you is saying and why. They may not be wrong. Okay? Now, most people can argue, but few people can straw man. Most people can say, my opinion is right, I'll prove you wrong, and just continue to barrage the opponent with facts. Most people cannot steel man. They cannot take the opponent's position and communicate it well. I believe, though, if you're smart enough to debate, you should be smart enough to steel man your opponent's position. And if you're not, you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, that's just my opinion. Just keep the discussion very, very casual, because you're not proving anything. What are the elements in a steel manning discussion? If you're steel manning, what are the elements in that discussion? The first thing you want to do is to re-express the other person's position so clearly that they say, and wonderfully and pristinely, that they say, wow, I wish I'd have thought of it like that. You know, you communicate the blue car position really well, really thoroughly. By the way, if you're going to argue against a position, you better know the position you're arguing against. I've seen this happen a lot. I've done it myself. So once the blue car guy says, oh man, I'm going to use some of your points to defend my blue car position, you probably got there. The other thing to do as part of a steel manning position is to list any points where you agree. And that kind of builds a link in that conversation. And especially if they're on the peripheral of the discussion, somewhere just around the edge, like, blue paint is produced in a country that we have a better relationship with economically than gray paint, or something right on the edge of that discussion. This also helps to build an understanding in the eye of the person who you are discussing your opposing with, that you really understand their position. There's another element that is generally considered, and this is from Daniel Dennett, by the way, who is the steelman guru, and he notes another element, and that is when you're steelmanning someone, it is good to mention anything that you have learned from your opposite party. This also demonstrates to them that you know their material. It's not a psychological trick, really, and it demonstrates to you that you're humble enough to be able to discuss their opinion. So if my opposite party presents a fact or an event or something that I did not know about, I should be humble enough to let that person know. What it also does, it keeps hands open. It keeps an open exchange in place. And once you've done those things, you consider yourself capable, or you consider that you have earned the right to provide a rebuttal or a criticism. Okay, so once you can express the alternate person's opinion, and you can state points of agreement or even nicely disagreement, but really agreement, and once you mention that if there is anything that you've learned from your opponent's position or themselves, you're in the right, you're in a place where you can perform a rebuttal or a criticism. You can respond. Now, it's really interesting. I really think the steelman approach is very valuable in terms of both keeping your credibility and keeping lines of discussion open. Now, let me tell you a quick story that's kind of recent in my own life, something that where I had the presence of mind to use the steelman position. Frequently, I fail under pressure to steelman my opposite party. Because, of course, the pressure's on. Well, why is this and why is that and so on? You know, why do you do that, Al? Why do you live this way, or why do you think that? And you respond immediately with a lot of facts, bang, 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 and every one of those facts is met with a deflection. The shield is up, and then you're just throwing facts at each other, and you realize you haven't got a discussion. When I have the presence of mind, though, it actually works really, really well. So quite a while ago, after church, we had a good crowd there that day, and it was an enjoyable service and so on. As a visitor in the church I'd never met before, but I did know from a friend who he was, and I knew there were things that he believed. He and his wife were there, and I think his wife was, I'm not sure at that time, that I knew that there were things that he believed different to what I believed, and I knew that for him they were main issues. For me, they were not main issues, but he's sort of one of these single sort of thing guys, right? And after the service in the fellowship area, we were having a cup of tea after the service and just a bit of a chat and a get together, which we like to do. He came at me like a zombie, right? I could see him coming. I could just see hand stretch out, like, this whole picture really reflects how he came and he made a beeline to me. It wasn't just to shake my hand to greet me, I would, nice to see you, and he started. Now I thought, okay. Now, by the way, I want to live this way in my own life, but don't always get there. But at this day, for some mysterious reason, I was in steelman mode. And he really wanted a scrap with me, and he wanted his doctrine on the table. And so he laid the question down, and by the goodness of God, I had this response. This is the question that I asked him. I don't remember his name, so I'm just going to call him Jimmy, right? I said, I just don't remember. I said, Jimmy, what do people who disagree with what you've just said say? How do people who have an opposite opinion to yours defend their position in the face of what you just said? I don't remember the exact choice of words, but as it happened, it was just perfect for the moment. So I said something like this. I said, how do people who disagree with what you just said respond to that? What do they say? Or something of the nature. And the funniest thing in the world happened. His charge immediately dropped. He didn't step back like he'd been defeated in an argument, but immediately there was no more wind in his sails. His aggression towards me stopped instantly. You could just say, like that. The next thing that happened was even more interesting. He turned around, walked away, and engaged with somebody else. And I thought, isn't that really, really interesting? Now, I did not attempt to steelman him, but I asked him to steelman me. Do you see what I'm saying? I did not attempt to re-argue his position, which I could have done because I had an idea where he was going. I know the discussion he was going to bring forward, but I was tired, didn't want to do it. Instead, I asked him to steelman me. What do people who disagree with you say? And immediately, he was without any sort of ammunition, and he realized, I think, I actually don't know what other people say. I just have this idea. So isn't that interesting? This is the probably a backhanded use of the steelman argument. So how should we develop that? When you're about to engage someone in a discussion, whether it's written or in text mode or whatever, take the time to know their position. Take the time to become aware of it and to be able to communicate it back to them. Or take the time to know their position so well that you could sell it to a third party. That's called steelmanning. What are the advantages of that? Well, first of all, it generates humility on your part. If I can discuss that guy's opinion properly, it really humbles me because, in fact, I might realize my own argument is not so strong or how I need to polish up my own argument. Secondly, it keeps the channels open. That person has brought you in kind of to their soul, saying, wow, this guy really understands me. A lot of high tension debate in the world of the internet is really one group of people who don't understand another group of people, and it's kind of sad to watch that happen. Okay, so today we had a look at not so much a logical fallacy, but some elements in rhetoric. Well, the straw man is a logical fallacy, the steel man not so much. We'll call them both elements in rhetoric, the straw man and the steel man. My name is Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church or in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe if this video means anything to you. God bless you.